we are going to look into yet another very important session about SQL Server database. So before that, I would like to request you friends, please subscribe to my channel so that you will be getting valid content for free, so that it will also help me to do more courses so that it will help the job seekers to get the job quickly. So coming to my topic, so this is session number 2 of SQL DBA Zero to Hero series, wherein this is about SQL Server database. Okay, this is our agenda for this session and starts with introduction to database, RDBMS. What is that? We'll discuss. What is SQL? Introduction about MS SQL Server. We'll see some editions and the versions of Microsoft SQL. So coming to the concept of a database. Database is a electronic system which is stored in a structured way. Means a database is a structured electronic system that efficiently stores and organizes the data. So in short, we can tell the database is a structured system consisting of tables, rows, and columns. So let me show you the database here. So you can see I just connected to the server, and the services is already running, which is the reason I'm able to connect to this particular instance. Now you can see only the system databases. Regarding this, we'll discuss in the upcoming sessions. So now we will create a database with the name called Akeesoft Training. I will create a database. This is the SQL command to execute or to create a database. I will select this and I'll execute this database. So if you refresh here, you can see Akeesoft Training. This is the database name. So if we click on this database, if you see here tables, we don't have any tables which we created. So this is a database wherein database is collection of tables with the rows and the columns. So this is, I'm just repeating this so that you should not forget this. The database is a structured system which is used to store and organize data consisting of tables, rows, and columns. So now I will show you how we can, I just showed you how we can create a database. So as I told, database consists of tables, and the tables will have the rows and columns. So now I'm not able to see any tables here. So now I'll create a table with the help of SQL command, create table students. So before this, I just want to show you one record. So this is a register which was used previously in the schools. So you can see the student serial number, student name, class, and everything. So this was a legacy system where it was done manually with the rows and columns. This was the previous one. So presently we cannot manage this with loads of data, thousands of rows of data in this particular manual format, which is the way we have the system. So which is the reason it is showing it is an electronic system wherein the database can save or stores the data. We cannot use this for loads of data saving, writing, and everything. Instead, we are using the technology and we are using a system to manage this. Suppose now I want to create a table with name students. Now I'll execute this and we will see. So command successfully executed. And if we refresh this, sorry, let me execute in the this particular database. I am using the database. You can see here this database changed here. Now I will execute here. Command successful. So now you can see this is a table which is created just now. Means that in the database you will have tables, and in the tables you will have the data including the columns which we are highlighted here. So this is a table. Table is having columns and the data is called as rows. So I will do that now also. So all these are interrelated to each other. Tables, columns and rows. Let me insert one row of data into this. I inserted this. I can see one row of data. So now there is a data inserted into that. But how I can see the data? I will execute select star from the table name. If I execute this, you can see here whatever the data I inserted, you can see here. Now this is called a table. This is where the legacy systems, name, student name, class and everything. So that is saved in a systematic way, which is having, this is a table. The table name is student. In that we have columns. Columns are ID, name, age, address. These are columns and this is the row. Likewise, we can insert multiple rows. So you can see multiple rows. If I execute here, it will show the 100 rows. I executed hundreds of rows in this. So you can see we have hundreds of rows, which is the reason I want to highlight here. Database will have tables and tables will have the data in the form of rows and columns, which is in a structured way. It is a structured way. It is not going out of. You can see it is very structured. Rows, you have the data, columns. So which is the reason it is, we are saying here a structured system. I want to highlight here the structured system of the data, which is in the form of rows and columns. This is about the data and the explanation. So about this RDBMS. RDBMS means Relational Database Management System. So as I am telling here, I was using some process or something relational. So you can see here this row is related to this column. So there is a relation between the columns and the rows, and this is inserted or managed in a structured way. Relation means each column and the rows are interrelated to each other, which is the reason this is called as a relational database. So in this relational database, we can call it as a structured database. We also have non-relational database, but they are non-structured, non-relational. Database will be a non-structured. It will not have any proper structure like ID, name, age, everything. It will have without the data will be there, but the structure will not be in a proper way. So this is the reason I want to highlight here. The relation between the each objects in the table are formed or created in a structured way, which is the reason we term that as a relational database, and we can use the other name as structured database. You can see here it is a type of database management system that organizes and stores data in structured format using tables with rows and columns. Using tables with rows and columns, we can create multiple tables. So I can execute this. So here I can have I can have here another table. So like this, we can have multiple tables. If we select data from here, select star from this particular table name, we'll see what is there in that. Okay. So if you see here, these are the columns, but there are no rows because data is not inserted. So if you see here, you are seeing data is inserted. So we can create a tables which are created in a structured way. Coming to the SQL. So SQL is a structured query language. So the one which I am writing on each thing is a programming language which is called query language, structured query language. SQL means structured query language. This is the language which I am using. This language is called a structured query language. So this is used mostly in the relational databases. As I am telling, relational databases means the data which is managed and created in a structured way. Structured way means it will have proper rows, columns, and tables. And if you see here, what is SQL? What is SQL? SQL here is querying the data. So as I already did, querying the data. What querying the data means? Checking what is the data available in a table. Here we have a table called students. We inserted some data, but how we can check? By using the SQL statement. This is also called a SQL statement to check the data which is available in the table. So likewise, we are seeing here querying the data. Querying the data is nothing but fetching the data. So another thing is data manipulation. Data manipulation means data manipulation comes under concept of create, read, update or delete. Create, read, update or delete comes under the concept of data manipulation. So we have the data of these many columns. Now if I want to delete any data, so delete delete from students. So what this SQL statement does is it will delete all the data in the table called students. Let me execute this. You can see here, execute. So you can see 101 rows affected. Now we'll check. Select start from students. Now again, no data is available. So we are doing manipulation of the data. This is called as manipulation. So I'll execute this one again. Now I'll check here. So now we are getting the data. Now what I'll do is update table. I'll use a table name. I'm just updating, manipulating the data. Set ID equal to 10 where ID equal to 1. So what I'm doing here, update table, set data, which is presently the ID equal to 1. Now I want to update wherever 1 is there of the ID, it should be updated as a 10. So I'll have execute here, 100 rows execute. Now I'll see what is happening here. What happened to this? Execute. See here, the ID is updated to 10. So these are called delete updates are called data manipulation. So these are the queries and this is the way which we can do the data manipulation. And related to the security. So security is one of the major factor, major key for the SQL Server. While I was installing also, I was showing you the difference between the Windows authentication and the mixed authentication, how we can do. So Windows authentication, mixed authentication. Windows authentication is nothing but a login which we logged in into the operating system. Okay. This is the login which I logged into the operating system. I should be able to log in with this, or this is called a Windows login. So if you give access to this, that is called as Windows authentication. Now, if I want to create some login with, see here, Windows authentication, SQL. So this security is very much crucial here. wherein we need to manage the security so that the data should not be accessed by unknown person or anonymous person who should not have access. So which is the reason SQL is also very secure or safe for creating access level as per the requirement. So this is one of the major component of the SQL. If we go to the next, so this is related to the MS SQL Server. So I was telling relational databases. MS SQL Server is built based on the relational RDBMS, means a structured data. Microsoft SQL Server uses a language or programming language called SQL Server, and SQL Server majorly fits for the structured language, which is also termed as a relational database management. So next thing is Transact SQL. This is also called TSQL. So in short, all these queries which I am running here comes under Transact SQL, structured query language. Transact means we are doing some transaction. This is one transaction. All this comes under transaction, and I am using a language called SQL, means that this can be termed as a TSQL. TSQL is also called as a programming language or language which we use to execute data in the Microsoft SQL Server. Scalability and performance. So scalability means the way which we can increase any data. So now here we have the database, and now we can see the size. So you can see the size of 8 MB. We can scale this data, and you can see the auto growth means this data once 8 MB is filled, the auto growth will be enabled, and it keeps on increasing. This is having an internal option for scalability, means automatically increasing the size of the database based on the usage of the database. So we have inbuilt option where the database size can be increased with the help of the existing features. And another one is performance. So as the SQL Server, if the SQL database and tables are properly used, the performance also will give very much. So here we are executing less count of data, but in real time we will have lakhs and crores of data. So that data also is managed by SQL Server, and SQL is well equipped to respond to such data with better performance. Next is security. As I told, the security is very crucial in this Microsoft SQL Server. It uses multiple options with the help of here we can give specific permissions, what permission we want. This will cover in the upcoming thing, what permission related. Presently we are just focusing on the overview, how we can use this as a security and how it is very important. So if we come to the next concept, this is mostly a theoretical concept where you should know. These are called editions. So SQL Server divided its features based on the cost of the license. So if you see this, each this is an express edition, means it is an express edition which will be having some limitations. So the limitations for this is it will have only less size of data, and it will not have any scheduling feature. It will not have any agent related feature. Standard edition. Standard edition is used for mid-sized database management and analytics, but there are some features which does not exist in standard edition when compared to enterprise. So enterprise is the high level of license, which is very costly compared to all the editions. So Express is free. We can use this Express without any license because it is having limitations. Standard is a licensed version. It will have a less fees compared to less license charge compared to Enterprise edition. So these are two modes. And if you go here, this is having another called Web edition. This is mostly used for hosting environments and related to that SQL Server is used. Another one is SQL Server Developer Edition. So this one, Web Edition and Developer Edition both are free to use, and Developer Edition also is used freely for development and testing purposes. So presently we are using. If you want to check the edition, just click on new query. You can select iterate version. You can execute. Then you can see full version details. And if I put here, you can see here this is 2022 Microsoft Developer Edition. So we are using developer edition because it is free and it is for testing purpose. We'll be using, and whenever not required, we will be uninstalling and we will not be using that. So I already showed you how you can install that in the previous session. You can kindly go ahead and check on that particular video, how to install developer edition, where to get the details. So coming to the versions, so we have versions. As I told, this is presently is having 2022. So if you go back, there is a versions which started from 1998, and as the versions increases, the features and the support are being increased. Features of 98 is less compared to 2000, 2005, 2008, 12, 14, 16. As you can see, there are multiple additional features which are coming for each version: 17, 19, 22. So 22 is the latest one, and 19 is the previous one, which is vastly used presently, wherein the migrations of 2019 to 2022 is already under planning. The SQL 2019 database migrations will be migrated to 2022 as soon as possible. So these are this is related to the SQL editions and the versions. So I hope you are able to get some idea of what is happening related to the data, related to the database, and related to the what is RDBMS and how the data is saved in a structured way. And you understood what is an edition and what is the version. Version is the one which is having the year or whatever it is, 2005, 12, 14, 16, 19, 22. And in that we'll have developer edition, web edition, standard edition, express edition. So the editions will have different features. Some editions will not have all features. Based on the edition, the license will be decided and the features also will be decided based on that. So enterprise is the top level, and express is the lowest level, which comes under versions. So the companies mostly used standard as enterprise edition versions, and normally testing people will be using developer and express editions. So this is all about the agenda which we already discussed in the initial slides. So we'll come back with the next session on the next topic. Please stay tuned to this. I am offering you a free course of MS SQL DBA Zero to Hero series. You will be knowing all the concepts which you can directly go for the job. So thank you friends. Thank you for watching the video. I request you to subscribe to our channel so that you will get more videos, so that it will help you to get the job as soon as possible. Thank you all.